So volunteers, you got to love them, but at the same time, you can hate them like nothing else. And, you know, I know as someone who's worked in the not-for-profit industry for, like I said, a couple of decades, but more importantly, as a dad, and as a dad who's been on a P&C and helped to turn up and run those quiz nights, but also as a sporting dad who volunteered. And one of the really big things that and I'll use some examples from my little athletics club that I was involved in for over 10 years with my kids, is one thing that really got to me, and that was my first time back into a sporting scene or a not-for-profit where, you know, I was now volunteering. You know, usually I did it, you know, very spasmodically, or I just did it as professionally. And I was blown away. You know, here I am down in the athletics field trying to entertain 29-year-olds doing hurdles, and I'm an ex-phys ed teacher, so it shouldn't be hard. And then, you know, it's like herding cats. And, you know, I get a bit frustrated and I turn around and there's 20 parents sitting on the limestone wall with the papers and the coffee in their hands, just going, doing nothing. I'm going, okay, that ain't good enough. And so I made it my mission. And it was a really great opportunity because I got to put all this theory that I've learned over the years into a situation where I can see if it actually worked. And let me give you a little hope. After 3 years, on the final day of the athletics season, we had 50 volunteers too many. We had too many volunteers. So there is ways, and here's the really cool thing, and a bit of hope for you as well. The research is showing us that more and more people want to volunteer. Now that might go against what your perception is or your experiences are in the workplace, in the P&C, but the research showed us the age group that's coming through. So that, you know, think about stereotypically the sort of year 1, year 2 sort of age group for parents. Those people want to volunteer, but here's the problem, and this is what we'll come up with tonight, is these people are going, hey, I want to volunteer, but we're using strategies that we used 10, 15, 20 years ago. And those two things aren't connecting, and therefore we're really struggling with the volunteers that we get. So like I just said, you know, continue to do the same thing over and over again while expecting to get a different result is insanity by our friend Albert Einstein. And one of the real things that I see the issues in regards to any sort of community group, not-for-profit that I work with, is that they're still using the same strategy in regards to trying to get volunteers as they did 20 years ago. And it just doesn't work. And to tell you the truth, it didn't work 20 years ago. And so it's therefore not going to work well now. And so tonight, between us, I'd like to come up with some strategies on how better to recruit volunteers, how to also retain them and recognize them so they stick around. Okay? And like I said, and welcome along to those couple of people that have just joined us. Anytime you want to jump in and add something or ask a question, please feel free to. Here is my first tip around getting more volunteers. You have to choose to get more volunteers. And that can be looked at in 2 different ways. So if I sat in your committee meetings, you know, once a month or wherever you hold them, a couple of times a term, and I sat in the meetings and I said, hey, let's talk about getting more volunteers. What would either be the thing that comes out of people's mouth or happening up here? Is it, oh, geez, really? Oh, they're a pain in the ass. We can't get them. No one wants to volunteer. If that is the case, there is your first problem. All right. We know from a psychological problem point of view, you get what you focus on. So therefore, as an organization, as a committee, if your perception, if the stuff that's going inside your head, or even more importantly, out of your mouth, is these volunteers are paying, it's hard to get volunteers, that is exactly what it's going to be like. So the challenge from the very, very beginning is our perception on how we're going to move forward and how we have set strategies to put in place that will allow us to get volunteers. And so be very, very careful that, how would it be different if we had a committee of people that were excited about going out and selling what the P&C does and gathering people to go in and build the vision of what this P&C is all about. And if we had that, I would bet you $1,000 and a block of Cadbury's chocolate, and for Jane, another glass of wine, And, um, and for those people who just came in, Jane admitted that she had glasses of wine in her hand. I'm not calling her anything else. Is I will guarantee if you have that mindset, hey, volunteers are exciting, they're important to our organisation, we're willing to go out and we're going to keep going out until we get what we need, you won't have volunteer problems at all, right? Because your mindset. But a lot of organisations don't have that. Oh, we don't have enough volunteers. We never have enough volunteers. Well, simply those words tell me a lot about the culture and the things that are going inside your head and the culture of your P&C committee. And if that's not leading you to success, then you might want to do something about that. The second part around choosing is you got to put strategies in place. All right, it's not one of those build them and they will come type strategies. You need to go out and put things in place. And what I tend to find is that one of the last things you think about for your dancers, your fundraising for the new play equipment or the air conditioning or more books at the library or whatever it is, one of the last things you think about is how we're going to staff it, how we're going to get volunteers. And because you do that, it's the last minute we run around and we grab people and we beg them. That's not the way you want to do it, right? For 1,000 different reasons. One of them, it's just not fair to anyone to put stress on people that it doesn't really need to happen. All right, so it's two things there. Be careful of the mindset that you bring and the committee. So one of the things I'd like from an action point of view, if you go back, if you're a president or the chairperson of that committee that you're on, or anyone on the committee, if you hear people saying that, call them up. Just say, hey, look, that's not the best way that we're going to move forward to get volunteers. Because again, if they're thinking that, it comes out of their mouth. If they're thinking that, it's going to reflect in their behaviors. No ifs or buts, all right? So call them up and change the way your committee looks at the way they attract volunteers. Number two is be ready to put some strategies in place. If you put some strategies that we're going to talk about tonight in place, you will get volunteers you'll get more volunteers. More importantly, you'll get better volunteers, which is always a interesting thing. One of my best friends, Dad, has just retired. Now, see if you would like this person on your committee, just out of curiosity. My best friend's dad just retired. When he was working, he was second in charge of one of the national banks. All right, now, let me tell you, he's a great guy, nice person. If he was on your committee, he wouldn't be a problem. But would you like the person that used to be second in charge of a bank to be on your committee? All right, I hope most of you would say yes. All right, can you imagine the contacts he would bring and the experience that he would have? And he's moved to a regional centre as part of his retirement he said, look, I've worked all my life, Crofts, I want to move to a regional centre, and in doing so, I want to give back to the community. And everyone knows in the community what he did. No ifs or buts. And again, he's not going around splurging. He's not a pain in the ass. He's not anyone like that. And you know what he does for his local tennis club? He sweeps the courts once a week. All right. Here's the other thing that I'd like to leave you with you in regards to you get what you focus on. I want you to get into the mindset. There is more volunteers out there than you'll ever need. Right? Because if you do that, you'll set up strategies that will actually access them. And I truly believe that, and this is coming from a guy that in 2000 had to recruit over 1,000 volunteers for an Olympic qualifying event. All right. If you do the right thing, I learned heaps then by learning from other people as well. But there is people out there that would really like to be working with you. All righty. So here's a question. Now, I want you to do this either on chat. So I'm just going to give you a little time. If I walked up to you, my kids had just come to your school, and I went, this is a good school. I want to be involved in the P&C. And I walk up to you and ask you the question, why does the P&C at your school exist? What answer would you give me? All right. I'd love to type it either on my screen or what would you say? It should be 1 or 2 sentences. Okay. Off you go. Who's going to be first up? Here we go. Oh, someone's already said it. I haven't scrolled down far enough. To help better the kids' experience at school, resources and community spirit. Well done, Coogee. Millie has said to give parents the opportunity to be involved in the school. Alrighty. To work together with the teachers and the parents to build more sense of community. Support school staff and provide additional resources for the children. Build the community. All right. Jane's got no more screen typing. She's given up. Excellent. Richard, now you've got the hang of it. To help the school and be part of the community and originally to make new friends. Like it. To be a link between parents and the school. Foster a strong school community. To add to a school environment and community. We exist to foster and develop community spirit, especially among parents, as children have shown to do better at school with that encouragement. Yeah. Wouldn't we love more parents to do that sort of stuff? All right, cool. Now, here's the thing. And you can see those things that have just popped up for me, you can see as well. If I was a busy person, but I want to give to the school, and I'm not sure how to do that yet, and I walked up to you and you said that to me, someone said what they wrote down to you, would you be excited about being involved? Or is it just words? That is the question, because here's my question. And it's a little bit harder on here, obviously, but if I want you to look at what you wrote down, typed in, or someone to work together with, we got that one. Let's see, we want to give children, I didn't read this one, sorry, Leslie. We want to give the children over and above experience and opportunities. Now, that's a good one. All of them here's the thing, before I move on, all of them are great. Right? All of them are fantastic. But here is the thing that I need you to understand. People make decisions based on emotion. Now, my question is, do those one or two sentences evoke emotion in what you're trying to do? All right? And so I want you to look at what you typed or what you wrote and ask yourself this question. Read it to yourself now and then ask this question. For what purpose? So, for example, Millie put, to give parents the opportunity to be involved in the school. For what purpose or for what reason do we want to give parents the opportunity to be involved in the school? Or Robin put, to support school staff and provide additional resources for the children, build the community. For what reason or for what purpose? All right? And if you ask that a couple of times, we start then getting to the essence. What most of you have given us is your vision statement, and for some of you, the mission statement. So to work with teachers and parents, all right, is a mission statement. To build a more sense of community, that's closer to a purpose vision statement. Now, I know in your documents you'll have it all, because here's my question. Because which one would, and I'm going to speed it up a little bit because it's really hard when we do it this way, is my question would be, and I'm going to make one up here, so bear with me for a second. If to give parents the opportunity to be involved in the school, for what purpose? The first thing that jumps to mind is to connect with kids, to connect with my kids in their school environment. My next question would be to connect with my kids in my school environment for what purpose? And again, if I do this with organizations, if I sat down with you, it takes around 40 minutes, right, to play around with this wording. So we're doing it in 2 minutes. If I said to you, I forgot what I said now, to give parents the opportunity to be involved in the school, for what purpose? To connect parents with the educational journey. Oh, that's even better. For what reason or what purpose would you want to connect parents with the educational to enhance future potential or to build stronger communities? Now, let's just go with that. To build, how about this? To build communities of potential. All right, let's say that. Now, if I walked up to you now and said, hey, which one do I want? I'm here at the school, I want to be involved. And I said, what's the P&C all about, like at the school? Which one would you write? To build communities of potential or to give parents the opportunity to be involved in the school? Which one would you go, hang on a second, I want to hear more about it? The first or the second one? All right, type first or second. Yeah, or the second. Millie's gone second. Okay, we've got half and half. Now, the reason I want to do that now, this is where it comes in, because I want to be able to say that. And all I want from the response from the other person is, tell me more. And as soon as I say, tell me more, everything you've written down there now comes into play. All right, people make decisions based on emotions, not words. That's why vision and mission statements hardly ever work. Here's another couple of things though. If you get really good at getting this, why do you exist? You're going to have more volunteers because people turn up. And here's the point of difference. So I should tell you this. The point of difference between people like me who used to volunteer, we did it because of a sense of duty. It's just what we did. The people, as they come through now, the reason people want to volunteer is because of a real reason. Now, I remember as a young parent standing on an oval at my kids' athletics carnival for 12 hours. And that was it. Just shuffling kids through. And I did it out of obligation. But people that are coming through now want to be involved in something that's real and a purpose. And if we do ask this question and we start selling it, people will want to turn up. Secondly, and this has nothing to do with this webinar tonight, but here's a little tip as well. If you start applying for grants and sponsorship for a variety of different things, which one as a sponsorship or the grants writing person would I be more interested in? That first one I said about building future communities of potential, or the second one? As someone who has assessed thousands of grant applications, it will be the first one every time because at least it's different. Right? I won't say any more about that. Rich will get annoyed. And we don't want that, like we said. All righty. So I hope that helped just a little bit. All right. We need to sell. You're underestimating. I truly believe that the P&Cs are underestimating what they're doing. We have to get out and really sell what we do because you know what? I want to be involved. I want to be involved in a group of people that are building communities of potential. All right. You can choose how you do that, but you can see where I'm going. Hopefully, you can see where I'm going with that. Now, one of the really big things about getting volunteers in place is to actually understand what volunteers want. And there's actually hasn't been much change. I think what they do as part of this has changed and the importance of how they deliver this. But the actual essence of why people volunteer tends to have stayed the same. And you ready for this? Here we go. I'm going to go for the top 11, I think it is. So here it is. Some of the top reasons that people want to, why people volunteer. All right. The first reason, obviously, well, of course, for your specific P&C, they want to volunteer because their kids are there. Now, they're either going to volunteer because they want to, or they're going to volunteer because they're kicking and screaming, but they're going to volunteer just out of obligation. Now, that's fine. You can use that, but I don't think it's the best way of trying to leverage people into volunteer positions. So here we go. First one, they want to stand out from the crowd. All right, they want to be seen to be doing different. Now, there's nothing wrong with these. None of these are negative. If you look at this and go, I know someone like that and that's not right, yeah, that's just this is not one of your needs. All right? I'm okay with people wanting to stand out from the crowd, to be different. We need people like that. Okay? Next one, they want to communicate with people. All right, I'll just wait for people on camera to look up and see the picture, see if they laugh or are disgusted at what I do. All right. They want to communicate with others. And I think Richard put up is about building that friendship group and building that sense that when I'm going through the schooling system and helping my kids through it, I'm not alone. Or it could be a social thing, but it's opportunity to communicate about their desires and their wants and their needs. I think that's a really important one. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because these should be some of your selling points about why people want to be involved. So if you put something out that you got a quiz night coming up, list some of these things down. Hey, we want volunteers because this is a great opportunity for volunteers to meet with other parents who are going through what you are and communicate with them. It's, you know, be the quiz master and lead us through the night. You know, here's another one is the one about standing out. They want to try new experiences? All right. So I can imagine, now I was a stay-at-home dad for a while. Trust me, I wanted to do something at the P&C, right? Because I stayed home all the day and I wanted to do something different. And this allowed me to, one, do something great for my kids. And number two is to get out and about and just try new things. And I got to do a whole stack of really cool stuff. All right. I got to always wanted on the, you know, those fairground things where you sit on planks over the top of water and the kids throw balls at you and you fall in. Everyone know that one? Yeah, well, I got to do that. How cool is that? All righty. People just get excited about volunteering. It's as simple as that. I would definitely believe that was one of my big drivers. I hate going to sports camp. Let's use P&C as an example. I hate going to sports camp. I hate going to quiz nights. I hate going to concerts and just standing there watching. I'm the guy who wants to be down the back doing stuff and helping set up. I just get excited. It really is important to me to do this stuff. Want to meet new people. Now in this day and age, single parents, FIFO parents, the list goes on. An opportunity to gather and meet is a really powerful thing. Now, here's one of the things I would suggest. Those people who sit on your committee and your members that have signed up, pay their dues, those ones, not just the external ones, look after them. So one of the things I'd be encouraging to do, and again, each of you will be in a different situation in regards to this, so you need to make good decisions about this, is provide opportunities to build friendships and to meet new people. So after, you know, at your monthly meetings, I have no problems with putting wine and cheese on or something like that. But here is a tip. Richard will be able to help me out here. You know, I don't think it goes against any constitutional thing, but here is the massive tip that I'll give you. Don't have wine, don't have cheese or anything else while the meeting is on. Now, that's been going on for years and years and no one's called it and it hasn't been a problem. But one day, yeah, absolutely. Belle just put those new people can be people with new and different contacts as well. Ooh, just hold that thought, Belle. I'm going to come back to it because you just made me give another idea that P&Cs could be using. Is technically I have no troubles with people having beers and wines and drinks responsibly while the meeting's on, but I don't recommend it for this reason. If you make a decision that one of the parents isn't happy with and they find out you're having drinks while you're making that decision, all it takes is, hey, they had 20 wines while they were making the decision about the new playground. And now you're off to the races. You don't want to have to deal with that. So I think it's a great thing. Do your meeting, get rid of, there's no wine, alcohol, soft drink, food, anywhere to be seen. After the meeting, once a month, once every 2 months, yeah, you choose, you're adults, is put something on. But also I think it's really important to allow, don't make it feel obligated. That's another one, because some parents are going to go, got to get out of here, I'm home. All right? So I think that's a good little tip to keep people involved. So once again, with Belle, those new people that can be with new different contacts as well. Great, totally agree with you. But here's my question. How do you capture that information? So one of the things that I used to do in my sporting clubs is every time someone signed up as a member, as a volunteer, whatever it is. So I'm talking in two different levels for P&Cs, that committee group, the members, who turn up at the meetings and have conversations, but all those add-ons as well that you get for quizzes and athletics and fundraising and car washes and all those other things that we might want to do. I want you to start putting something in place. Is to capture those and ask capture the contact details. Number one. Number two is, as part of that process, find out what they do for work. At the very least. So if you need help, you can maybe use that parent's business, but more importantly, you know, for help around certain things, you can contact them directly. All right. Really important information. I'd be trying to capture every email. Again, you might be able to get that from the principal or the parents. I doubt it. from a privacy law type thing, but put something in place where you can capture as many parents as you possibly can at your schools, contact details, emails, obviously. Richard put a really good point about the alcohol. Let's just check with the principal regarding alcohol. Yeah. And you need to undersell it. It's not kegs and it's not shots and it's not drinking games. It's adults having a drink after a meeting, maybe one or two, and that's it. But because you're on a school property, you might want to check that. But hey, but teachers have sundowners all the time. So see how it goes. All righty. They have something to say. I guarantee that most of you have either experienced this or they will experience in the future, that one parent that basically wants to be on the committee just to be heard. All right. And they've got an agenda. It's okay. That's what they're about. But understand that's what they are there for, and you want to use them. Just can't get help, but get stuck in and help. That's me again. That's a pretty straightforward one. I think also selling it from a builds a character point of view, because when I was putting this together, one of the really interesting things I thought about was thinking a bit laterally around the volunteering thing. There's parents out there with families ranging from, pre-primary kindy all the way through to middle high school type stuff. Why can't we use, again, just checking on what event you do and all that sort of stuff, use the 15-year-olds or the 16-year-olds that are now at high school, the 12 or 13 or 14, whatever age, are at high school to help you with the volunteering stuff. But in doing so, one of the things that they get in return is a letter of recommendation, hey, well done, you've done a fantastic job, really appreciate it, that they can put in their little job CVs and all that sort of stuff. So it's a give back type of thing. Okay? So, we want to sell that. It builds skills and opportunity for people. If you've got a mum or dad who's starting a brand new course in web design or in diploma of events management or something like that, approach them and go, hey, this is a great opportunity for you to practice your skills, to put it in place. We've got you back as a P&C. And in doing so, we'll write you a reference that you can use moving forward and give you experience, the same thing. All right, so we've got to think a bit laterally about how we're doing this sort of stuff. It also makes you smile. All right, it's just a good thing to do, volunteering. And I think we underestimate that, and we have to keep looking at that in regards to what we can possibly do to really, hey, you volunteered, so you're great. So I really appreciate that. Learn new skills we talked about a second ago, which is an important thing. This is why people volunteer. A lot of times with these tips as well, these 11 tips that we've come up with, the volunteers actually really don't even actually know that this is the reason they're turning up. So that's why it's important for you as the committee or as the core leaders of the P&C to really go out and sell these as much as we possibly can. And number one is they just want to be part of the action. All right. I should also highlight that this is being videoed. And so therefore, if you want to go back, we'll get you the link. And if you want to go back and check it out, that would be fantastic. No problems there at all. So my question to you is, so my question before we move on is, how do we use this? What can we do that allows us to use this information? Any ideas? Before I launch into some of my ideas, how do we use these 11 things that we just came through? Can we share the video with other P&C members? Yeah, I have no problems at all. If you think it's worthwhile, Melanie. So how would we use these tips in regards to developing recruiting strategies or retainment strategies? All right, either type on the screen, type on the chat box, or you can open up your mic and talk to me directly. That would be another one. How can we use these 11 points? Just remembering them, keeping them in the back of your mind as you move forward. What can you do with it?
I'm just going to talk because it's easier than typing.
Yeah, go on your mouth.
Well, I was thinking like as we promote it through social media and things like that, using different aspects at the different points throughout the year that you're promoting, because you don't want to do it all at once or people just scan over it. But
Yeah.
if you point out a different thing at each opportunity, you attract that person that's looking for that aspect as well. And I think too, like with these, it's plugging those into the different activities that you're promoting, like
Yeah.
how they could be useful and, you know, what specifically you want. So just an idea.
Yeah, that second part is really good, but we'll talk about that a bit later on, so don't jump ahead. Yeah, so just sell it, especially social media. If social media is an important part of the way you communicate, instead of going, hey, we know that volunteers want to be part of the action, that's not what I'm talking about. Just go, hey, we're looking for parents who want to be part of the action. And just really, and you can put stupid photos like this. Do you have anyone in your family who would like to learn new skills? And the really cool thing about the social media is you can drip feed this, all right, and just do it, and it's not hard. Do you have someone in your family who would like to new skills by helping us build? Do we have a teenager, someone in university who is studying events management or commerce or whatever it is? You could sell all these. Also, someone else. Or where do we go? Oh, now we got people are getting the hang of it. All right, let me read some of these. Could spell some of them out in a newsletter. Might help people see something they like. Yeah. Now, obviously, once again, we don't go, hey, I've heard volunteers like new skills. Would that be you? Sell it or be more subtly. How would you like to develop your skills around insert? We're looking for people who would like to increase their skills or use their skills around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said, it's not hard. What else we got? Make sure you recognize anyone that does put their hand up, even if it's for the minute activity. Love that one. That comes into retaining though. Hold on to that thought. All right, it's a brilliant one. The President's Committee member can introduce themselves to families at sports clubs. Oh, yes. Yes. I don't think it has anything to do with this, but I love that Leslie put it up, because here's one of the things. It's really hard to say, or it's harder to say no to people that you know. So if you're smart and you're one of the committee or the president or the principal, whoever it is, goes around and goes, hi, I just know I haven't met you before. I'm the president of the P&C, blah, 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 blah. And don't ask for anything and just walk away. When you do need something, it's going to be a lot harder. All right. Well, it's going to be a lot harder to say no, but it's also going to be a lot easier for you to walk up to that person, which is even important. All righty. Can reinforce by chatting to new parents. So, yeah, absolutely. I love it. To all members, not just, absolutely. Far and wide. One of my favorite shows, and it just makes my heart sing, which is really a strange thing for me to say, but have you seen those TV shows where you've got those really young kids, kindy age, going into retirement villages and old people's homes and stuff like that? Have you seen that TV show? All right. It's wonderful. It makes these kids just light up these old people's worlds, which gives me an idea. Is there a possibility that we could access grandparents and local homes or retirement villages or lifestyle villages as a source of volunteers? And they're free all day long, a lot of them. All right, and they're looking for something to do. What we know around Gen Xers, sort of pushing that into the 60s above, is they've spent their whole career developing their skills, and now they want to use it for some sort of high purpose. And so therefore, accessing those people. And once again, just be careful with, all the things you have to do. You might have to get police checks or something like that, depending on what they do. But I think we shouldn't let those sort of things get in our way of accessing those people. There are some high schools now that require their students to do X amount of community hours. Why aren't we chatting to their guidance counselor, youth education officer, or one of those to connect the two schools together? I think that'd be a good one as well. I'm making these up as I go along. Jane had a really great one to all members, not just exec members. Yeah. All right. Because what we tend with the exec members, they do it all the work anyway. All right, it's the same face turning up. And I'll tell you why that is bad in a second. Oh, look, someone just said another obstacle we have come across is not from Australia, is people not from Australia cannot join the P&C as they feel it's only for citizens. That makes sense, but incredibly interesting as well. I guess what we need to do is sell the idea that you're the citizen of our community. You know, you're one of our citizens, you're one of our people as a school community. Yeah, so we have issues with ESL parents. So therefore, that jumps up. I guarantee that there's someone within your school community who is really great at English and really good at that second language. Oh, there we go. Do you know what I mean? So if you have those, oh, there we go. We can translate. How wonderful would it be to bring those people? Because, you know, not being able to speak the language of your country must isolate people. And so bringing them into that community that you have would be a wonderful community thing, both in your school community and a wider thing. But it's just about finding those translators. But let's think a bit laterally then. Is there a community group? Yeah, because sometimes in those communities that have a lot of second language or whatever culture they come from, they also have social clubs and all that stuff. Is there someone in there that you can go and access to come the translator and help us out a little bit? There's always a way. Remember, that mindset thing. There's always a way. We just got to think about it. One of the things that I'm constantly thinking about, and I sort of slap myself in the forehead each time I think about this, because I didn't do it when I was doing a lot of recruiting and being a parent like you and trying to get people to do stuff, is this. Ask the people who are already volunteering for what reason do they volunteer. All right. Now, if you don't ask them, you are just assuming. And we think we know why people volunteer, but you don't unless you ask them. And once you know, this is probably a retaining strategy as well, is to make sure that they're fulfilled, that need is fulfilled. And, you know, so it is about, you know, standing out or being part of the action. Have that conversation with them on a regular basis. Okay, so I think it's about knowing your community as well. One of the strategies, and we'll get to a bit more recruitment in a second, is it's also asking the right questions. Is, you know, if you see someone, and again, you'd use this for specialized people, e.g. the ones that you really want involved, as in at a higher level because they have a skill set or they can bring something really powerful to the exec team, whatever it is. You wouldn't use this on everybody. Is that, you know, for example, if I walk up to Beck, brand new parent at school, I hear that she's a high achiever. I'd love her on the committee. I'm the president of my P&C. I walk up and go, hey, Beck, one thing, very nice to meet you. And we met at the Athletics Carnival because Leslie introduced us. I was wanting to have a chat to you. We've got a spare position on the committee, exec committee. Now, before you say yes, I'd like to highlight that it's, do you hear what I said then before you say yes? Is to say, you've been highly looked upon as one of the really members of our community, our school community, and we really love you to be involved. And I'd like to talk to you about it. And I'll give you some strategies in the middle there. But if she says, well, the first thing I would say is, so I'd like to talk to you about how you could be involved. And Beck goes, no, sorry, Cross, I'm really busy. Look, I hear that you're really busy, Beck. I really appreciate it. Here's the question. What would have to happen for you to feel comfortable with saying yes? All right, now there's going to be some stuff before that will narrow down her ability to make the decision. But that's the question. When you ask people, ask them for what reason, what would have to happen for you to feel comfortable with yes? And they will tell you, and they'll say, three things. And if you go, right, well, if I make sure those three things happen, is that, you know, you'd be interested in being on the exec? Now, the only answer they have now is yes. All right, so just a little tip, and I'm not being mean, because people do want to volunteer, and once again, I'll tell you one of the number one reason people don't volunteer in a second, and it's an important one. So here we go. Without thinking, all right, think about in any way you want for that first question. I ask you to answer it by typing in How many volunteers do you need? Now, you might not do it, just go, hey, from an exec point of view, here's how many volunteers we need. From a exec volunteer membership type thing, here's how many we need. Or you can say, hey, we've got an event coming up. Here's how many we need, right? And let's just go with that one. So how many do you need? Type in my chat box, how many do you need? $10 to $15, cool. Thank you. Well done, Kuji. 3. At least 10. Hey. All right, cool. Keep going. 5 to 10, 10. 50 across the whole year, every event. Nice. Thanks, Jane. Now, here is the question I want to ask you now, though. How did you know? Did you just make that number up? And if you did, that's where one of the problems is. So what we need to do, first of all, is before we go out and launch into finding volunteers and getting them to do stuff, is actually work out specifically, not 5 to 10, not about 30, how many specifically do we need? Because the example of 5 to 10, in my head straight away, the strategies I would use for 5 and the strategies I would use for 10 are going to be slightly different. So if you don't know specifically what they are, then you might use the wrong strategies at the right time, or at the wrong time. So one of the things I really encourage you to do is, before you start the school year or you're coming into an event or whatever it is, all right, sit down and work out specifically how many volunteers you need. And one of the things I would do if I was on P&C, if, let's say 50, let's just use that. Jane said 50, all right? I would then go to my committee, if I was the president, and go, okay, all of us need to find 5 volunteers each. That's your commitment to this committee over the next few years. You need to find 5 volunteers to do A, B, C, D, and F. I'm going to palm it out. Because if you don't do that, guess who's going to end up doing it? It's going to be you. So palm it out, because once again, it's a lot easier for those committee members to find 5 volunteers each than you have to find 15 or 20 of them. Make sense? So palm it out to the people. The other thing that we have to be very careful of before we launch out and find what the volunteers is, what do we need them for? Now, I love this question because once I've been doing this with me personally, but also with organizations that I work with, is what we tend to find is the number you usually guess is not usually close. All right? You either need way more or way less. And I think that's important. By the time you list, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this, you know, you go, oh, holy crap, we need 100 over the events over the next 12 months. And so therefore, your strategies then lead to align to reaching 100 volunteers rather than 10 or 15 that we first guessed. Once you start, you answer those 2 questions right in front of you there, and you answer it truthfully with some research rather than just picking it out of the air, all right, suddenly your confidence will go through the roof because now you've got an end point. Because if I was a president and I stood in front of my committee and went, hey, we need to find volunteers for the events, if I have 5 people in the room, if I ask them how many volunteers we'd need for the events, I'm going to get 5 different answers. That is not good for any committee or any team. So we need to know how many we want and what we're going to need them to do. All right, let's start off. I'm going to give you more tips in a second about recruiting. Don't you worry about that. But this one here, I've been alluding to it. What's the number 1 reason people are not volunteering? You ready for this? I want you to be ready for it, but I also want you to wait till I get to the end of the sentence before you make judgment and start throwing things at the screen. Okay, you ready? Here it is. Ian Crawford's belief in the volunteer world, including P&Cs, based on my experiences, the number 1 reason that people don't volunteer is because of you. Yeah, you weren't expecting that, were you? Let me explain. You and your committee. I want you to picture this, and this happened to me. All right? I rock up to my school, All right. There's well, which one shall I use? Quiz night. My partner at the time got roped in to delivering some stuff to the quiz night. All right. I'm the guy who has to deliver it. So I go off to the quiz night. It's 2:00 in the afternoon, the day, and I rock up to the school gym and I go, here's the stuff that you ordered. And I see familiar faces. I almost guarantee the familiar faces includes you. Like those people on the camera, do you agree with that so far? Yeah, thank you very much. Those 3 people that are doing wonderful things, but I'm not talking to myself. But here's the thing, which is fantastic. I'm not downplaying that, but here's the next thing. Fast forward. It's now 11:30 at night. I've been hanging around having a chat to the other parents and I go, oh crap, I left my keys in the quiz room in the gym. I come back 11:30, 11:45 at night. Who is still there? See where I'm going with this? Because now as a new parent to this school, my perception of stepping up and saying yes to the P&C is what I just experienced. So I'm not saying stop what you're doing. Well done for doing it, but be very, very careful that your school community hasn't got the perception that volunteering for the P&C is the way that you choose to volunteer for the P&C. All right? Because you imagine this, if I got every parent to commit to 1 hour every semester, you would have 0 volunteering problems for the rest of the school year. Understand? Would you agree with that? And so therefore, yeah, I think it's one of the big issues that we haven't worked out yet. But be very, very careful about what image you're sending out to the school community in regards to what volunteering is. And be okay with parents turning up for a setup for a quiz night for an hour and set it up so they can do that. Because what happens? If they know that it's just, they turn up for an hour and then after an hour they can go, they tend to stay on anyway. They know that they don't have to stay for the 12 hours that you have, okay? Hopefully that's a bit of a wake-up call for you. All right, team, enough of me talking. I've now recruited you as my recruitment A team, and I want you, on this page or in my chat box, what are some of the ways that you could help me recruit more volunteers either to the exec of the P&C or the part-time volunteers that we use for events now? What are some of the recruitment strategies? We've already mentioned a few. What are some of the recruitment strategies we could use to gain more volunteers at your school? Ready, set, go. Let's see how many we can get in the next minute or so. Personal invitation, good, love it. Ooh. What do we got? Well done, Robin. First off the ranks there. Nicely done. A personal invitation. Introduce yourself at kindy induction. That's a good one. Is that what you're doing now, Millie? Task focused. Ask people who have skills required. Yes, good one. So Millie, if you're doing that, introducing yourself at kindy, if you're not doing that already, fantastic, start doing it. If you are, I'd be very interested in what you say, because that's what we could use those 11 things for. We could use welcoming barbecue beginning of the year, nice. Being asked in person, match person to possible role. Look, we now include info pro kindy inductions in the package. Nice bell, but I would get face-to-face to them. We do a just one thing flyer that goes home to all parents outlining our plans for the year and have parents pick just one thing. I wonder how they go. I don't know who wrote that, but I wonder how that goes. I would suggest it goes okay. But I guess the question would be, do you get all the volunteers you need? I would really do the suck up sell job in that brochure. I'd be going, hey, as part of the school community, as parents, we've got to step up, yada, yada, yada. All we need to do is to choose, really sell those benefits we talked about and sell that they don't have to do it for 12 hours. You need to commit to 4 hours per school year. All right, because if we give more information, people can make decisions. If we go, hey, we just want you to do one thing, someone's perception could be 27 hours, and that's not going to say yes. So make sure you set boundaries. Promote the amazing things. Yeah, promote the amazing things the P&C has provided for the school. Promote the amazing people that are involved in the P&C. If you're really smart, promote those people who are doing those external volunteering stuff rather than the committee. But tell the committee, hey, we're going to say, hey, we're going to focus on parents who aren't part of the committee but volunteer out, because here's the reason why we need more of them. And we know that you do a great job. We really appreciate exec committee, but we're going to focus on them. I think that'd be a great way. Yes, we have a section where you can tick a box about days and times they have available, but I think I will play with that. Belle, you might want to give some examples. So you might say, hey, Melina, year 2 parent, and that could have been a couple of years ago, year 2 parent, committed to washing the dishes after the quiz night. Total time commitment, 90 minutes. See what I mean? So again, you're selling the culture of volunteering. The more information people have, the better decisions they'll make. All right, Richard, go after the people that engage with your social media. Ha! Yeah, I go after the lurkers. They deserve to volunteer. Yeah, cool. No, thanks, Val. That was just you responding to me. We have done a biography in a newsletter, a committee member each newsletter. Yeah, good, Leslie. But here's the thing. Go wider. All right, go wider as well. You might want to alternate. One committee member, one people who have just helped out for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. All right, I hope everyone's writing some of these. These are really good ideas that you can steal. All right, any others? Yeah, nicely, Les. You've thought of it, now do it. All right, I'm coming after you if you don't, because I think that's it. Targeting parents whose children are involved in the event, say a spelling bee. We still do spelling bees. We hold a morning tea. They could help on the day. Yeah, but once again, when we ask that, Belle, I love that. Tell them what the sort of things we need to do. We need someone to pour the tea and coffee. We need someone to cut up the cake. We need someone to marshal the kids. We need, you know what I mean? Because people can make decisions and they can go back to their knees and go, yes, that's what I want to do, and do that really specific thing. I'm on a roll. Must be the lack of oxygen I've had all day today. But ask people what their talents, passions are. They might be able to help out their skills at work. Yeah, absolutely. I think also people understand their ability. People also, I think one of the other things we need to do is ensure that we protect our volunteers, that we're not going to embarrass them, we're not going to overwhelm them. Because I think that would be a barrier for people to say yes to things, that they might look like an idiot. So if we make sure that, specific job by personal invite. Yeah, good one, Leslie. Love it. And I'm going to give you one more step, Leslie, that you're going to add to that as well. And everyone else can use it, obviously. We've started using online signups and that go out where we break down volunteers needed into a specific. Has it worked, Melanie? Has it helped you out? So one of the here's the thing. The really good thing about P&Cs is you've got a really trapped community, and you're going to have some incredibly talented people, parents floating around that thing. One of the things that I would do around, you know, like Melanie just said about the sign-ups, and someone said about the brochures, and someone said there was just one thing flyer. Go and find someone, I guarantee there's one, in your school that's a communication expert. And walk up to them and say, hey, look, all we need you to do for this year, as a commitment to the P&C and your kids, is could you review what we've written and help us out rewriting it? And after they've done that, you don't have to do anything more. As a communications expert, if I was, I'm not, communication specialist, it would be hard to say no to that. And trust me, you've just got $1,000 worth of volunteering stuff done because of their specialized area. And if they get the wording right, you're going to get more volunteers, and it's going to roll on. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be looking for those specialized people. All right, cool. So recruiting strategies. So number one, we've looked through those 11 things. Make sure they're in the back of your mind as you put strategies in place. And with the social media, we can easily drip feed that. From a question point of view is probably a good way of doing it, because the brain really loves questions. If you've done my difficult and managing difficult people seminar, you'll know why. The other ones is more information that I can have, the better. All right. So I want to know what skills they have. I don't think we've got any regional people here. One of the regional mining towns that I was involved in from a leadership perspective, that I was doing leadership programs in the town with the mining company, but at night I was doing some stuff with the not-for-profits, including a lady that came from a lady and a man that came from the P&C. When we got started talking, what we tend to find in the mining industry, for example, is partners move into these mining towns. Both partners are incredibly professional people, but because one of them has an opportunity in the mining industry, the other just follows. And then this person who's highly skilled and highly respected and got a whole big skill set sits there and does nothing. But no one asks them to do stuff. And that would be pretty similar in a lot of your communities for a variety of reasons, that one of the parents at home looking after the kids, but they have a whole stack of past where they've got some real skills that they can use. Alrighty, what other recruitment strategies is, hit them. I love that person one because I've got it on the next page. There it is. Oh, that's what you should have written on. Let me get rid of. So here's a couple of really important ones is, again, and I've used terminology that if you know what it means straight away, you probably think it's pretty overwhelming. No, just let me explain. I just couldn't think of better terminology. So JDFs, job description forms. Now, what I mean by that, in the world of business, if you work anywhere, all your positions have a JDF and they're several pages long usually. That's not what I'm talking about here. So if we need a quiz master, let's go with that. We need a quiz master coming up in 2 months' time to run our quiz night. Instead of walking up and go, hey, I need a quiz master. I thought you've got a big mouth and you can entertain people. You'd be really good for it. Would you like to be involved? They might say yes to that, but in today's environment where people are really busy, there's a good chance they'll say no. What I'm saying about a JDF is that if you go, hey, I need a quiz master, next question is, what do I need them to do? You need them to read out the questions. We'll write the questions. We need you there from 6 o'clock at night till 9 o'clock at night. We will give you the questions at least a week in advance. On the night, your responsibility is to keep the quiz night to time, is to read the questions and to read the answers. Everything else will be done. Now, even if I use that basic example, if I go up to someone and read out those things that I just came up with, there's a better chance they'll say yes, because they've now got details and ideas about what's expected of them. If I go up and go, hey, I want you to be a quiz master, again, consciously, they don't necessarily think about it, but unconsciously they go, holy crap, that's going to be huge. I did a quiz master thing for my local footy club, and that was weeks worth of work. Now they're going to say no to you because you haven't given the boundaries to do that. So one of the things I would be very careful of is definitely when you walk up to someone, be clear about what you want and what the expectations are. Better chance they'll say yes. So some of the examples of the online stuff that you are looking for, the online stuff like the online forms and the one job or whatever it was, have some clarity around what you want rather than just titles. Volunteers want to be told exactly what to do. Yes and no. I think if I came and say, hey, I'm just going to volunteer for the quiz night, I don't care what you do. Tell me what to do and tell me specifically. But once again, if you want them to make a decision whether to volunteer or not, they need to be told exactly what you expect from them. So you're absolutely right, but it depends on if you approach them or you and just drag them in, or you want them to make a decision. Okay. Let me give you an example. Not a P&C example, but I was walking my dog several years ago now. I was walking my dog down at the local oval, and there's a hockey club there. And I was walking around, and there was this poor guy. Everyone had left. And there's this one guy picking up cones, sporting cones around the field. And I sort of walked over and I said, how you doing? And he said, good. I said, why isn't no one else helping you? He said, oh, this is what presidents do. And I went, yeah, you don't know me, but I sort of work in the area. No, that's exactly what presidents shouldn't be doing. And we had a conversation. Now, first of all, check this out. This committee, although he was collecting cones and that, over the last 3 years, they'd raised $280,000. All right, so let's start with that. So they're doing pretty well. And the reason they did that, they went out and selected people rather than waiting for them to turn up. They got everything we've been talking about tonight. They found parents who are well connected, who are professionals and had the skills that they needed. And they went out and did the things that we were talking about. And so they said yes. Because if you want someone on your committee, for God's sake, don't ask them to be on your committee. You need to walk up to them and say, hey, we're looking for a president, a chairperson, whatever it is. President, chairperson would be exactly the same thing, but you know what I'm going with is you need someone on the committee. For goodness sake, tell them how much is involved, how many hours. If it exceeds that hours, what support will you give them? You'll get better people because busy people, probably the ones that you really want, I'm making some assumptions here, but if it's a busy person, you want them on the committee, you need to give them that boundaries. But anyway, I talked to this guy and this guy said, yeah, but we've had this really great committee, but we want one more. I said, who's the one? He said, we've got this lady that we want. She's a high-end financial advisor type person who can help us really manage this $280,000. Now, a lot of us don't have the skills to manage it. Can I also tell you that it wasn't just sitting there. They were going to build a facility in 2 years' time or something like that. So it was there for a reason. As not-for-profit should be. And I said, well, walk me through what you've done. And they've literally walked up to this lady who's at the in a previous career was working somewhere around 80 to 100 hours a week. So if you walk up to someone like that with, hey, we're looking for someone to sit on a committee, there's a very good chance they're going to say no. This lady has now had a child and she's doing maternity leave. Okay, reduced hours in regards to work, not reduced hours overall. And I said, well, hang on, what options do you get? I said, we're looking for you. You'd be really great to be on the committee. I said, well, hold off. Hang on a second. Let's wind it back a bit. Ask her the question about what would have to happen for you to feel comfortable about saying yes to our committee. Here's what we need. We need you to do this. We need advice around financial planning and how to use this money to the best potential. Give her that advice. How much time would you need? I asked the president. They said, no more than an hour a week. I went, okay, what would that hour look like? She said, well, probably once a month, once every 2 months, we'd need her to attend a meeting to give us some advice and mentoring. So I'm saying, okay, once a week and once every 2 months or so, you need them to attend a meeting. I said, great. Go have a chat to them. And I want you to ask the question, what has to happen for you to say yes, that question, and then tell them what you specifically want. And they came back and a couple of weeks later and they went, didn't work. I went, oh, crap. Walk me through what you did. And they missed out that question of what would have to happen for you to commit 1 week, 1 hour a week, and every 2 months to turn up to the meeting. What would have to happen? And they went back and here's what happened. And this would be very interesting if it's something that you could use. And again, I don't know your constitution well enough, but Richard can help us out with this one, is ultimately after having that conversation, here's what worked out, is the lady wanted to say yes. She wanted to be involved because it gave back to the community, it used her skills, and she used to be a hockey player. The next thing that, when asked that question, what would have to happen for you to be involved, she said, look, I don't want to leave my child. The times that you're asking me to be at the committee is feed time, and I didn't have kids to let someone else feed them. And after a little bit of discussion, she came out and said, well, what happens if I got on FaceTime or I got on Zoom and I electronically came into that meeting? And everything just clicked. The president went, well, you're not a voting member, so that wouldn't be a problem. You're just like a mentor. That's exactly what you could do. So fast forward, this lady through the next 3 seasons helped these people, mentored by phone whenever they could catch up during the week, committed to that 1 hour per week. When she needed to be at the committee meeting, she literally dialed in from a kitchen while feeding the baby. And it worked out perfectly. This hockey club is getting skills and opportunity and advice that you'd have to pay thousands of dollars an hour for because they've built a JDF and they found out what she wanted and then built the job to that. You could do the same thing. This volunteer coordinator, Richard also put can still vote as well. Well, there you go. As long as they sign up and pay the membership fees, Richard, is that correct? Is a volunteer coordinator. So if you are having a quiz night, you are having a spelling bee or whatever the other is, get someone to volunteer to coordinate the volunteers. Now, the reason is for a variety of operational, It does, Jane. It really comes back to crystal clear communication. But here's the thing, Jane and the rest of you, we tend to really, as human beings, suck at it because we know what we want and what we're asking for up here subconsciously, but how we present it, usually where it falls. Richard, turn to a question that's been asked to you on the chat there. You can answer that. Now, the volunteer coordinator. Firstly, it takes it out of your hands to coordinate volunteers, where they have to be, what they have to be wearing, what they have to do, etc., etc. Now, here's the more importantly, the thing I like is I love the idea of volunteer coordinators around a spelling bee, for example, to be the central contact point for all things volunteering. So the people who have volunteered, they don't look and go, well, do I speak to Mel? Do I speak to Millie? Do I speak to Mission? Do I speak to Richard? You speak to the person who's been identified as a volunteer coordinator. And what I find that happens is that nerves disappear when they know where to go to. So you don't have to call them volunteer coordinators. You might just say, hey, Richard, on the night of the quiz night, is going to be the volunteer coordinator leading up to it. And on the night, here's your contact point for everything you need to know about volunteering and need assistance. And Melanie, I've just become very hungry, and thanks for that. All right. Starving. All right. Can you see where I'm going with that? So 2 very simple tips is clarity. Thank you, Belle. I really appreciate that. Cass, thanks for turning up. All right. So how are we going for time? I got 15 minutes. Here is my next one. If you don't ask people, people don't have the opportunity to say yes. So you've already come up with this as a personal walk up and ask them. If you took away one tip tonight to do either start doing or do more of, this is it. All right, because here's a strategy we tend to still use. We just use it electronically, that we've been using for 20 years. We stand in front of a group, either like this, at inductions of kindies, or in the social media world, and go, hey, we need volunteers. Full stop, end of story. And we expect people to start pouring through the door by asking that question. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because we haven't provided them the information to make a decision around it. But secondly, it's not personal at all. And I see it all the time. I was just down in one of the regional towns close to Perth. And in their newspaper, at the beginning of the footy season, even where it's been all over the place this year, is they spent money in the community newspaper and it said, we need volunteers. That was it. And it's the same strategy they've been using for 20 years, and yet they still can't get enough volunteers. Of course they can't. Right? Get used to asking people, because the better chance they'll say yes with better understanding. Yeah, so Jason had a great question. Ideas on how we do this in the COVID world. Here's the thing. If you're going to ask for volunteers on your social media page, and some of you are going to hate this, all right, do it by video. All right, make a video and then put it on social media, not typed. Now, and remember, as the people who are presidents in the room or on the committee, it doesn't have to be you. All right, it can be anyone on your committee. It can be any parents. So it doesn't have to be you. That would be one of the ways that I would do it. I would be focusing on getting people like this live, if I possibly can. You could still have your kindy induction, do it by Zoom. And we could have, parent check-in times or whatever it is, once a month or once every 2 months, we do it like this, where we get parents online. And if we can get them like this, it's going to make a lot of a difference, positive difference. But the one thing I probably, from COVID point of view, if you're going to send messages out, do it by video. It makes a world of difference. When I first started webinars, and I've done over 1,000 webinars now, started years ago, is the first time I wanted to do it, I used to hate the video on. I hated it. I hate, looking at not only you looking at me, but me looking at myself. And until one of the bosses of the companies I work with saying, nope, put your video on. Well, you don't do it. I went, okay. The difference in the guest engagement is huge. You might not feel it at the time, but the engagement, the feedback you get back from the engagement is huge, all right? And through Richard, if you want some more advice about how you could hold those assemblies, those inductions, and how to make them a little bit more interesting, give us a yell. I'll help you out with that, no problems at all. So, as our time rapidly comes, I'm really interested in this one as well. What are some of the strategies you can use to retain your volunteers? It's easier to keep using the same volunteers than to find new ones. So give me some tips, either in chat, either talking to me, or on that screen there. Let me know. Go for it. Thank them. Beck, how? Personally thank each volunteer. How? Praise for hard work and dedication. How? How would you do that? A volunteer morning tea. Good one. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll also have a thank you morning tea at the end of the year. Yeah, absolutely. Good one. Ask for their feedback. How do we do? Yeah, good one. So Millie did a great one there. Ask for their feedback. How did we do? Here's the next question. If we had to encourage people to volunteer, what would we do differently? Right? Because if you ask, how do we do? People go, good, and they move on. What can we do differently to encourage people to volunteer? Michigan, again, in person, fantastic. Let's go even further. Let's start, keep doing it. If you think of any more retaining strategies, please put them down. I'll give you some ideas that I've just come up with. You imagine you've just had the quiz night and you got one person who's the first time they volunteered, they worked really hard. And Monday morning, they log onto Facebook and there is the principal, the president of the P&C, somebody going, hey, I just want to have a shout out to all the volunteers. One of the really particular ones we wanted to really thank on the quiz night was Richard Brandt. Hasn't turned up, hasn't got kids here. I know it sounds a bit weird, but it was really great to him to help out at our quiz night. Really, really appreciate it. And do it this way, you imagine the impact. Now, you're going to have to do it often. You can't just get to do it with Richard and ignore everyone else. But it starts building that culture that you respect volunteers, you like them, you want them to be involved. Here's an email from the president. That's an easy one. Set it up so it has a personal name, and there's ways of doing that really easily. All right, so all your volunteers, on Monday morning or Tuesday morning after the event, there's an email from the president going, saying thanks very much. We really appreciate it. This P&C and the ability to assert purpose here to build a community of potential for our children doesn't happen without the support of the parents. We welcome that. We really support that. And anything you'd like to be involved in the future, let us know. You touched on this earlier with one of the keys in retaining is good management of their time. Yes. Oh, I forgot that. Thank you, I can't even speak. Sorry. Really screwed that one up. If you sign people up, this is a really important one. If you sign people up for an hour, how long should they volunteer for? 1 hour. Now, if they choose to stay longer, fine. But if they volunteer for an hour, you need to make sure that at some stage, and this is where volunteer coordinators come out, walk up and go, hey, I know you volunteer for an hour, your hour's up. I'm very happy for you to go, or you're quite welcome to stay on. It sends a message that if they volunteer for an hour, they won't be there for 16 hours. Yes, they will stay for that 16 hours to start off with, but they'll never volunteer again. So if you can start building the culture that if you say yes to an hour, that's what it is, people will line up because they know they can go, oh, between dropping those kids off and picking those kids up, I can come and put some streamers up for an hour. Or I can sweep the floors, or I can, whatever it is. All right, they'll come and do it. And I think that's a really powerful one, all right? Because that's what we did at our little athletics club. We've done everything that we talked about, and we had someone on each day, actually the volunteer coordinator, we actually paid that person, all right? Volunteer coordinator across the year it was, not just one event, across the year. We paid them $1,000. So not much for what they did, but it helped out at the time a single mum. We also, you want to check this out, we were really hardline. We said every parent has to volunteer for 4 hours or your kid doesn't participate. And so people, a few of you already said that, we had to put up on a calendar where they had to write down which events and where they would do it. Because if you've got kids in little athletics, you know that the freaking season goes for 97 weeks. And if their name wasn't up on that board, their kids didn't participate. If they didn't volunteer, that was an extra $250 a season that they had to pay. Now, everyone goes, oh, that's really shit, that's bad. No. We want you to volunteer. You don't, 4 hours a year? Come on, really? But here's a really interesting thing. Oh, can I also say we weren't total bad people. We gave the president carte blanche decision-making roles. So if we did have a parent who couldn't volunteer for real reasons, apart from I didn't want to, that's okay. So we had a lady who just separated from her marriage. She was a police officer, did night shifts. She came out and said, look, I'd like to volunteer, but I just can't do it with my time commitment as a police officer. Halfway through the conversation, our president said, stop, we've got your back. You don't need to volunteer, we've got your back. All right? We're pitching this at people who sit there on the limestone with papers and drinking coffee. All right? And here's what the really cool thing was, and I'll finish up on this one as well for this story, is that this mum would come down, say goodnight to her kids before she went on to duty, and she'd pick up a couple of javelins and a couple of shot puts and put stuff away. She did 11 hours worth of volunteering, we worked out. So she easily did it. And it built and built and built. And after 2 or 3 years, we had more volunteers than we knew what to do with. All right. So what do we got here? Someone agrees with Jane. There you go. I think people also like to know why we are needing help. Yeah. That comes back to that purpose thing. Or you're holding a spelling bee because of... Now, also, here's the thing. Let's assume you're holding a spelling bee. It's a fundraising thing. Let's assume that. And you're raising money for more books for the library. Don't stop there and selling it. For what reason do we want to have more books for the library? It's because we want to have greater variety for our children, both with reading disabilities and not, access to. All right? That second one is going to be a lot more powerful than pieces of paper binded together that we're buying to put into a library. Can you see that? So just go that one step further and you'll go, we want to extend the playground today. We made $800 towards the goal. E.g., we want to extend the playground today. We want to make $800 towards this goal. Good. But I would say, for what reason? We want to extend the playground because it allows our children to reduce stress, physical activity, and increase their well-being through the day. We need $800 tonight to get towards that goal. All right? Out comes the checkbooks, swipe cards, etc., etc. Can I throw something else at you about this? This has might not have anything to do with you, but something to consider. I work with a very large not-for-profit, massive not-for-profit. They, at their reception, it's a medical not-for-profit, at their reception, they put a tap and go, and it's set up that all they do, if you want to donate $2, all right, or $5, all you have to do is tap and go. The amount of money they have got by that, and they've got beautifully written up stories and all that stuff. They've done the communication part as well. But people don't think about tap their thing for $5, bang. They don't even think. And the amount of money, duly, maybe an opportunity there and one of the things that you do. Because I don't know all the activities you do. Melanie, yes, definitely. Since we have started linking each event with a goal and what we're doing is great. That's great feedback, Melanie. People want to volunteer, but they want to do something worthwhile. And if you talk to people about that, some really easy strategies. Those emails to people. Something that you could do as you get more mature around this sort of stuff is you capture people's. If you thank one volunteer, the others will feel left out. I'm willing to risk that because it's still better than not thanking any volunteers. And the thing is, if you're going to do that sort of on the Facebook type, hey, you did a great job, you need to do it constantly. You can't just do one volunteer and then it disappears. You have to commit to it. So it shows that you are thanking volunteers, not just that one person. So Yeah, look, again, so Millie, you're right. If you thank one volunteer, will the others feel left out, or do we need to thank everyone? I'd do both. Hey, thanks everyone. If we did it by video, I'd go, hey, thanks everyone for all the volunteers that helped us out at the quiz night last week. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate your effort in this busy world. One of the volunteers, all of you did a fantastic job. One of the volunteers that did stand out, and I'll give criteria. So I'd say the one that was there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon all the way through till midnight, helping us out. I want to say thank you to Beck for doing that. We really appreciate it. All the other volunteers, we couldn't have done about it, but I'm sure you would agree that was a massive commitment or something like that. You know, you sell it around that. We do both. Blanket thanks for everyone, but we'll do a special shout outs. Yeah, again, Melanie put a really good point. Play the game. All right, because it's so easy to thank the same volunteers over and over again, and people already know the massive work. If I was president of the committee, I would say to my group, I go, hey, I know that you do a great job. I think you do a fantastic job, and I'm very thankful for it. But for us to build volunteers and build our community, we need to really focus on our thanks to those people who aren't in this room right now. Can we move forward by saying, I really appreciate the work that you do and the volunteering you do, but understand I'm not ignoring it by saying thanks or something like that. I'd do that. Richard said, get principal involved in the thank you. Oh man, absolutely. All right, co-sign. And it's good for a couple of reasons. One, the volunteers will love it. Secondly, do you think the principal will love it as well? Play the game, people, play the game. All right. One of the things I do, and again, if you take these tips into your community, one of the things that I would do is if I'm any sort of not-for-profit in the community, as I'd be saying things around getting the mayor to sign something, or the shire president, or a local celebrity. Everyone loves that, and the volunteers are just beside themselves. All righty. Just to finish up, about the recruiting stuff, just to let volunteers know, we are in a position now in the world that we have easier ways of thanking volunteers and our people than ever before. We've got multiple streams. Use it. Make a video. Here's another one. Get one of the kids, and again, it could be one of the year sixes or a kid that's just left, run around an event taking photographs of volunteers and put it into a video. All right? Now, if you don't know how to do it, turn to the nearest kid. They do. All right? And it takes minutes to put together, whack some music, and just go, thank you, thank you, thank you over the video. You imagine that. It takes 10 minutes to do, and the return on investment would be huge. But whatever way you choose, let them know. Right? I love the morning teas. I love the easy emails or the letters. Here's another one. Imagine getting a handwritten letter. One that I was actually leading to as well is as you get more mature and collecting information, you might be able to collect volunteers' birth dates, for example. And then at the beginning of the year, you feed that information straight into an automated software package that's free online that automatically sends out a free birthday card, email, electronic ones, to all the parents or to all the volunteers. And you have to think about it again. All right, really simple, easy things to do that make a world of difference. Let me give you a little tip. This changed the way that I've recruited, managed, and retained volunteers. 2000, I was at the World Triathlon Championships. I'm an event manager, but one of it was the volunteer management as well. I needed 1,000 volunteers. At the end, we did a whole set. We had movie nights. We spent $22,000 on returning strategies. All right, it was $1 million event, so it wasn't too bad. But here's the thing, after the event, all right, we did a whole survey because we needed to. We did a survey, we went to volunteers and said, of all the recruiting, retaining, and rewarding strategies we put in place, which one? We had t-shirts, we had free dinners, we had muffins, we had drinks, we had all. The number one thing was this, that someone came up to them and said, thank you. And what we did was the senior people that was involved in the event had pink access tags on, so you knew who the important people were. And I said to them, every time you walk past a volunteer, I want you to go, thank you for your service. We really appreciate this. Is there anything I can get for you? That was it. All right? And that's what they remembered most. So yes, we can put all these fancy strategies in place, but when it comes down to, people appreciate some of those simplest things. Alrighty. So I'm going to say thank you very much. I really hope you got something out of that tonight. I appreciate your time. If you would like, it's a couple of things. If you'd like direct access to this video, write your email address in the chat box. And I'll also put you on my newsletter, which comes out once around a week, which is about leadership, influence, people, behavior, stuff like that, that could easily be used in your P&C. So if you'd like that, thank you, Leslie, straight up. No ones at all. So I'll say thank you. And I don't want to hold you up anymore. Hopefully see you again. Thank you.